Good morning. How's everybody doing this morning?
Morning, Simon.
Yay. All right, all right, all right. I'm calling this club meeting to order. Good morning, Rotarians. Thank you for joining us. Shortly, I will be sharing my screen and leading us through another fun presentation to direct the conversation. Periodically, I will bring it down so that we can see each other's beautiful and friendly faces and have more dialogue. So feel free to speak out as you would in an in-person meeting, but if you're not using your microphone, be sure to put yourself on mute, or maybe I'll do it for you at the cost of a club fine. Wrong button. Okay. There we go. So, welcome to the Fortuna Sunrise Rotary Club meeting for July 29th, 2020. This is volume 5 of my presidential year. We have an amazing Rotary Club, and I am so thankful to be a part of it. I'd like to welcome some of our guests this morning. Joining us today, we have Jeffrey Smoller, who will be our speaker, so we'll talk about him a little bit later, but give it up for Jeffrey. Thanks for joining us. There's a lot of clapping happening right now. We also have visiting Rotarian and the AG for the Arcata Club's Howard Staffers here this morning.
Good morning, everyone. I'm from the Arcata Sunrise Rotary Club, and I'm returning the compliment of Frank Ramos attending one of our meetings last week, and it's a pleasure to be here. I was president when Erin was our DG, and it was a wonderful year and experience my association with her. Erin, you're there. Hi, how are you? So it's a real pleasure to be here. I should mention too, I'm an AG like Frank is. I'm an AG for the Arcata clubs. So good to be here. I know you're very dynamic clubs.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. We also have visiting Rotarian Diana Rios. Anybody else? I think I've got all of our visitors. Yeah, okay. Back to it. At this time, we typically be doing the flag salute, but since our meeting is virtual, a little American history lesson. Did you know that on this day in the year 1905, U.S. Secretary of War William Howard Taft made a secret agreement with Japanese Prime Minister Katsura, agreeing to Japanese free reign in Korea in return for non-interference with the U.S. and Philippines? That was today. Inspirational message or invocation.
Oh, there I am.
Turning it over to Kurt Weiss.
All right. Good morning. I've just got a little short story I'm going to read to you. Hope it's not too boring. A gentleman was walking through an elephant camp and noticed that the elephants weren't kept in cages or held by the use of chains. All that was holding them back from escaping the camp was a small piece of rope tied to their legs. As the man gazed upon the elephants, he was confused as to why the elephants didn't just use their strength to break the rope and escape. They could have easily done so, but instead they didn't try at all. Curious and wanting to know the answer, he asked a trainer nearby why this was. Trainer replied, "When they're very young and much smaller, we use the same size rope to tie them. And at that age, it's enough to hold them. As they grow up, they're conditioned to believe they cannot break away. They believe the rope can still hold them, so they never try to break free." Moral of the story is, no matter how much the world tries to hold you back, always continue with the belief that what you want to achieve is possible. Believing you can become successful is the most important step in actually achieving it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. Four-way test this morning. We'll be calling on Jeff Nelson.
Good morning. Is it the truth? To all concerned, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Well done.
Made it easy, Simon, putting it up on the screen.
I'm here for you, buddy. Announcements. Survey results will be sent out today from the club survey, so we can all get some kind of input on where we're at. We're kind of all over the place, but I think there's some really good suggestions for our club, and also what we all think and kind of know it's doing well. And there's a lot of synchronicity between that. So I'll send those results out with the link to the meeting video. District Governor's Visit, it's October 14th, and if we're still sheltering in place and cannot meet, we will probably do that via Zoom, but it is kind of up in the air at the moment, as all things are. And also save the date, the district conference would be October 24th at the Sequoia Center. Mary, do we have any celebrations this morning?
No.
Okay. So every week, my theme this year is Artist of the Week, and this week we'll be featuring the artist of Livia Marin. Livia Marin is a London-based Chilean artist. Her work is intentionally informed by the immediate social and political context of Chile in the 1990s. It amounted to a transition from a profoundly overt disciplinary regime, which was given by 17 years of dictatorship, to an economically disciplinary regime with a strongly developed neoliberal economic agenda. She employs everyday objects to inquire into nature of how we relate to material objects in our area dominated by standardization and global circulation. In this work, it seeks to offer reflection on a relationship that we develop with these often unseen objects that meet our daily needs. So on the right is an installation that she did where she hand molded lipstick in all these different kind of wild shapes and then put it on this oval platform, and you were kind of surrounded by all these really odd looking lipsticks. And then she took a cast mold of an old tool and then kind of warped it when she made her replications of it. That's on the far left. And then the central image there, Cosas Rotas, is a map of Chile, but she's implemented some patterns as well as a poem in there. She received her BA in Fine Arts in Chile, her Master's of Visual Arts in Chile, and in 2012, she got her PhD in art in London. So very smart and really awesome work. What she's most known for is a series called Nomad Patterns. It's actually two series. Another one was called Broken Things. They're made of fragments of everyday objects, cups, bowls, jars, and the like, and they appear staged somehow between something that's like in a collapse to being restored. So almost perfect, but yet melting. And the patterns in this melting state are still very visible and intact. So just really visually inspiring and wild stuff. Okay, and at this time, I typically call on a Rotarian to talk about some of their work. And this morning, I'll be calling on Rotarian Steve Garrison. Steve, if you could unmute yourself. We're looking at a piece, it's called The Object and Its Manifestations. At the top is a zoom in on some of the individual pieces, and at the bottom is actually a small little chunk of the installation, which was about, I don't know, 20 of these shelves built with these objects. Let's hear what you have to say about it.
Wow. Looks pretty undisciplined to me.
Okay.
It's like a coffee can that somebody ran over.
Okay.
My granddaughter would be much better at, let's say, picking out the artistic details of some of this, Simon. I'm at a loss.
Okay. Hey, that's all right. How about a $15 fine for being at a loss?
How many?
15 bucks.
Oh, make it 20.
20 sounds great. Thank you, Steve. Right. Yeah, they're actually plastic cups. She, like your red Solo cup, she molded those and they're all crinkled up in different shapes and stuff, distorted.
Why did I think they were toilet paper rolls?
That's what,
That's
the sign of the times.
sign of the times. Sign of the times. All right. So guess the artist, Aaron Dunn. Are you there this morning? Aaron? No? Should I call on somebody else?
No,
Rob?
she's trying to unmute.
Okay.
Maybe I can use sign language for her.
There we go. Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So you fell asleep in art history class and you're woken up by your professor asking you, which is the painting by Pablo Picasso? Is it number 1, number 2, or number 3?
I think this is a trick question. 3.
3, incorrect. That is
Yeah.
Cuba's self-portrait by
Mhm.
Salvador Dali. So yeah, low-hanging fruit there.
Yeah, I fell for it.
It's all right. Let's see. Who else could I call on this morning? How about Keith Borges? Got 50% chance to get this one. Is it number 1 or number 2? Which one is the Pablo Picasso?
Well, knowing you, it doesn't seem like it should be number 2, but that's the one I'm going to say, number 2.
You are correct. You are correct. Well done. Well done. All right. So $5 fine to Aaron Dunn for getting it wrong, and no fine there for Keith for getting it right. Thank you.
But I will tell you, Simon, if I'm still able.
Please.
Mary may have not forgotten, but I can't. It is my anniversary tomorrow.
Oh.
So I should. I will contribute the customary $5 to the foundation for our anniversary. 32 years tomorrow.
32 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, Keith.
We got some thank yous. Again, despite all these things that are going on, we're still able to serve and give to our community. So thank you very much. We have a thank you this morning from Redwood Women's Foundation and Wild Souls Ranch. So I want to take a look at those. I'll leave them up for just a little bit longer. Oh, hey, there's a zoom in. All right. Weekly recognition. Before I get into the weekly recognition, I'm going to stop my screen share. And is there anybody that wants to boast, brag, talk about something they've got going on, fish they've caught, vacations they went on?
A suspiciously quiet group.
No? Okay. All right. Well, maybe I'll find the person I'm recognizing double. I won't do that. All right. Who will be recognized this week? Fortuna Sunrise Rotary Club member Ken Houtby. And I did a little pictorial of you as a barkeep there, pouring up a drink. And if I was going to describe you by 3 words, be mixologist, hardworking, and leader. Ken, the mixologist. You know, Ken has been in charge of our bar for our Rotary Club for quite a while now, and not only does he make a mighty fine adult beverage, but he isn't above sipping an ice cold Bud Light with John Sapper. You know, Ken is currently looking for an understudy for all things bar to learn the ins and outs of the business, you know, when we get up and running for that. So if you're interested in that, please send me a note. I'd love to get you involved. It's a lot of fun times, as you can see. Hard working. Whether it's putting in the work to create a quippy remark during a club meeting, drying the nail polish on Purple Pinky Day, flipping flapjacks in Roner Park, assembling hay wagons for apple harvest days, or putting together a pergola at Riverwalk, Ken is always there to lend a hand. Leadership, Ken Houtby. Author John Maxwell said that the pessimist complains about the wind, the optimist expects it to change, and a leader adjusts the sails. A charter member and president from 2005 to 6, Ken Houtby has been a leader of our club for our over 25 years of service and consistently is adjusting the sails, so to speak. Thank you, Ken, for giving to the Rotary Foundation, the Scholarship Committee, organizing the club's board elections, and so much more. So everybody, please give it up for Ken Houtby.
Woo-hoo.
Ken, that recognition and debonair illustration has to be worth about the same as a drive-through car wash with the works and wax, right? 20 bucks maybe?
You got it.
Excellent.
If I can make a comment,
Yes, please.
if anybody wants to be the understudy in bars, this is a good year to get into it.
That is a great note. It is a great year to get into it. But yeah, if anybody would like to help out with that, there are a couple of groups within our club that need some additional support and some understudying, and the bar is one of them. If you're interested, you know, at this point in time, it's not a huge commitment. You're not taking it over, but it would be a great time to just get involved and start learning the ropes. So please.
Whoa, what do you mean not taking it over?
Maybe eventually taking it over, but this year not taking it over. So yeah, please keep that in mind, and drop me a line, shoot me a text, put a message in the chat room today, whatever works best for you. And at this time, we'll be passing it over to our program chair, Aaron Dunn, who will introduce today's program.
Good morning. We're really lucky this morning to have Jeffrey Smoller with us from Making Headway. Jeffrey's been with the Making Headway Center since February 2007. He did take a brief hiatus, and during that time, he served as president of the board of directors for the organization. Jeff's jobs are to educate the community, thus being here today, about brain health, and he teaches classes to those who have sustained a brain injury. He is also, well, pre-COVID, their guitar teacher. Jeff was a Rotarian from Southwest Eureka from 1996 to 2013, and also served on their board. He is given many a Rotary program, but this is the first, probably of many, Jeffrey, your first Zoom meeting. So please, let's welcome Jeffrey Smoller.
Good morning.
Yay.
Can you hear me? Hello?
You bet.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, excellent. So I get a lot of questions about what Making Headway Center for Brain Injury Recovery is. And Making Headway Center is really two things. And that's of January of last year in terms of our current organization. First and foremost, since the year 1999, we're after preventing brain injuries. And when I mean preventing brain injuries, I mean all brain injuries, not just traumatic brain injuries, which is a conk on the head. We're talking about stroke, could be aneurysms, could be Parkinson's, could be dementia, Could be anything from the inside of your brain as well as the outside of your brain, which is usually a traumatic brain injury. I hope that that's clear. So prevention is the only cure. So that is where presentations come in. Has not been uncommon that after a Rotary or Kiwanis presentation, someone will come up to me and tell me about their situation, and we're able to help them. Sometimes we can't help them, but it's any one of us. So it's not an us versus them. In terms of the prevalence of brain injury, the Eureka, Arcata, McKinleyville, Fortuna area is just above average. Now, why is that? Any guesses out there? One of it is a rural lifestyle in which you're more prone to get hurt. There are fewer people per capita like trapped in offices, and they're out there doing something physical. The other is the fact that Eureka in particular is quite a military town with the National Guard base. So because they're a construction battalion over by the zoo, whenever there's something going on overseas, they are first in, last out, and because they build the shelters, they are most vulnerable. So they come back into the population after being stationed abroad, often with brain injuries, and there's about 80 to 90% chance of a divorce rate as soon as that soldier comes back within 5 months, because very often that person starts feeling symptoms, and the spouse that's left in Eureka says, hey, that's not the person I married. And so they go to therapy, which gives you the second reason Making Headway is here. We have the Therapeutic Resource Center, which is counseling for couples, counseling for individuals, as well as court mandated counseling if you really need to have that counseling. And that's for any reason. And when I say any reason, any kind of trauma now is considered a brain injury, because the mental aspect of brain injury is just as important as being conked on the head. Are you with me so far? Okay. I'm not used to the Zoom aspect of presentations. This is a whole different thing. What we do if someone does have a brain injury is they call or they get to us through Redwood Coast Regional Center or the VA or private methods, and they say, hey, I've got this problem, or my relative has this problem, or my father or my son or daughter. And we see just how we can help them. Sometimes it's counseling, sometimes it's lens neurofeedback, which is a biofeedback type of treatment. Sometimes it's entering classes. Sometimes it is living services. Very often someone who's had a brain injury forgets how to stand, forgets how to walk, forgets how to feed themselves, forgets how to cook, forgets that they did cook and cook again. Or with meds, we have to regulate it because they forget that they did take their meds and they might take too many, and vice versa. So we do all kinds of life skills. Very often a person might graduate to supported living where they're able to live on their own. And then we help them get as individual as possible. Sometimes we help them find a job. So it's any method that we can help people get back on their heads following a brain injury. And of course, prevention is key. The prevention part is very often either a presentation to a school class, Rotaries, Kiwanis, other groups, but awesome helmets. Sometimes we give away up to 400 helmets a year. Now you say, give them away. We always fit them. We're either at events or created events, and a poorly fitted helmet could be a hazard. Why are helmets a great investment for the business community? I'm glad you asked. The reason is a helmet that may cost us $10 raised through donations, we get a good deal. Will probably save the wearer and their family $5 to $7 million over the rest of their lifetime, because an injury is life-changing. for themselves and their family. The first $300,000 will burn through in the first 4 to 6 days of hospitalization. So if you're riding a bike, a horse, a skateboard, your kid falls off a bike, or you're not wearing a helmet and you can't help them and then you get injured, we're talking about millions of dollars in social help, medical help, psychological help, and police, fire, and social services being involved. So we think that $10 given away is a pretty good deal financially for our community. Are we following us so far? Okay, we concentrate a lot on helmets for people who can't otherwise afford it, or people under 18. Do I have a question? So I know you're out there. Okay.
No questions, but you're doing fine, Jeffrey.
Oh, okay, sounds good. Hang on, I'm going to turn my heat down because it's making noise. I'll be right back. 1 second. Okay. Okay, I'm back. We are at 730 K Street in Eureka, and we're in a church that was a church in 1929 is when it was last remodeled. It was built originally in 1898, and we went from renting a small 1,300 square foot house across from the library, I'm pretty sure Ross remembers that place, to a 13,000 square foot facility in which we have classrooms, activities rooms, lots of offices, counseling offices, and facilities that are just, I'd say, pretty close to spectacular. A lot of the remodeling was done by our own employees, particularly our executive director. We are funded through contracts and contracts alone. So we don't walk around having fundraisers and doing things that are small. We do things that are big. The Pun-Off was one of our events we did for 4 years. The Pun-Off went on for 40 years total. I don't know if you've heard of the Pun-Off. I know Ross has. There's Ross. See there? Okay. And also we do work with private pay, lawyers, judges. People are actually sentenced or prescribed to come to us to help with their problems. So it's all on a contract basis, a fee for service basis, sometimes on a sliding scale or through insurance. So we're actually pretty well funded. Our budget has grown tenfold in the last 7 years. So it's not that we're wealthy, but it means that we're able to help more people the more we grow. And the only people we really limit our work to is anyone who has a brain. If you don't have a brain, you will get very little from us. If you have a brain and want to get your brain better, or you want to prevent your brain from getting bad, we're the people you call. And sometimes we'll come out to you. It's amazing how sometimes we'll give away a helmet and they come back and they show us this dilapidated helmet that could have been their head. And so we give them a new helmet, or someone calls and says, hey, you saved my family. Now, I'm glad you brought up families, because what is a family? It can take any form. But if one member of a group of, say, 5 or 6 people in a sphere of influence gets injured, it changes the dynamic for everybody, for kids, adults, relatives, and all the services that are required. So one brain injury that's prevented or treated means you're affecting your sphere of influence in all those they pick. It's that ripple effect. So we literally help hundreds of people a year and their spheres of influence. Now in a town our size, that covers a lot of ground. We work with police. We've given workshops to hospitals who don't know what happens after people leave ER. And how could they? Their job is to get them stable, but that's often when their new life starts. If a brain surgeon gets a brain injury, like through a car accident or slipping off a ladder, does that mean after seeing us, they will go back to becoming a brain surgeon? The chances are slim, but they will have a new life. And that's what we help them adjust to. And it's often a very long grieving process psychologically. It could be very depressing, but it could also be very uplifting. I've seen people say that due to their injury, they've never had such close friends. And that is really true. I've seen people have new hope, new careers, and some, for better or worse, actually new families. Thought I'd entertain a few questions here. Anyone have any?
Jeffrey,
Hey,
how
Jeffrey,
many,
this is John. John, go ahead, Ross.
oh, I was going to say, Jeffrey, how many returning veterans service people are we seeing in Humboldt County that are using the services of Making Headway?
That's a good question, Ross. As far as Making Headway directly, not that many. We see a lot of veterans returning from duty on an indirect basis because they go to usually the VA directly. The VA has some pretty good services. My editorial comment on that one is the VA often sees this as competition. And so we can sometimes have to compete for some of the returning soldiers. Whereas in other towns, people like Making Headway Center are literally contracted by the VA because the VA offices are so far from the soldiers where they live. So to say how many we have currently, I honestly don't know the answer. But there are many in our area who require services. When we staff North Coast Stand Down, you're familiar with that. Many people come up with us and don't know how to get any services. And some are traumatized from wars as far back as Korea. So we plug them into either private therapists or case management. And frankly, because I'm more of the PR guy, I don't know what happens to them, but I think they are helped. So in a roundabout way, did I answer your question? Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, Jeffrey, this is John. Your service is involved with assessment and diagnosis in addition to treatment?
Yes. Now, when we say treatment, we're not doing anything medical. It's purely psychological and educational. And then we have some of the more critical folks where we do dispense medications. But they're mostly psychotropic medications. We don't actually cut on people. And that's a big misnomer. People, I've been asked several times, what's it like working with all those doctors? And I say, I don't know. Or are there people in the hallways with bandages? No, we get people post-acute. They've left ER. They are physically stable, although in varying forms. And then we help them start a new life and help them adjust to learning to live on their own or with their families, however that family is defined.
So you're saying you don't do brain surgery there at the church?
Well, it's a former church building, so we are not a church. But no, we do not do brain surgery.
Jeffrey, in your time with Making Headway, how much have you seen the use of bicycle helmets go up just from your education?
I have to say I have not. I see little spurts of people asking for helmets, and bike rodeos will call us and could you staff those things? And I have to say that the incidence of that has actually gone down. I think people are becoming more careless, particularly parents. Sometimes kids will wear helmets and I see their parents not wearing helmets, and it drives me nuts. So I think that helmets are a fashion in a way. It goes up and down in terms of popularity, but injuries just keep on going. So I would have to say, Ross, quite cynically, it's not going up at all.
Jeffrey, do you see, I have a grandson that's playing football at Fortuna High School. Do you see many young people who are engaged in sports who maybe are wearing helmets but still getting injured?
Oh, yes. We're working with the Humboldt Concussion Project, which should be providing baseline assessments for all Humboldt County athletes. And knowing that the average person who plays football gets 5 to 6 concussions per game, yeah, we're very well aware of that. It's usually the second concussion on that can cause permanent damage. This is really scary. So we're still seeing them, but thanks to the baseline, we're actually able to tell if they're really injured or not, and keep them on the bench a lot longer before assessments prove that they can get back on the field. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah, it continues to be a huge problem. I'd like to think that over time, parents in particular would be more cautious about what they let their child do before they get to high school, maybe Pop Warner football or smaller stuff. But I'm really unpopular at a lot of Rotary meetings because I go in and talk about the dangers of football, and it is horrendous as to the amount of concussions that accumulate per person and ruin people's lives. By the time they're out of high school, their destiny may have been changed quite a bit.
That's not very encouraging.
Well, I wish I could be. What the NFL is terrified of, and they've even said so, is if even 10% of parents keep their kids out of Pop Warner football, or they don't even start, then the NFL could die over a couple generations. Keep in mind that the NFL is a nonprofit. It's the world's largest nonprofit, $29 billion a year, but they're also a business and they have to promote that business. So this is something tough that we're fighting. I don't know how many have seen the movie Concussion or seen the documentary series, but calling attention to concussions that are deadly in football is just beginning to surface. That information, like the cigarette companies, that actual data has been buried until a huge lawsuit. So they're only now learning just how many injuries, how many suicides, and how much dementia is being caused by repeated concussions. Cheer you up, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Jeffrey, is there anything we can do to encourage youth and community members to wear helmets? You're saying you're seeing it kind of go down. What do you have any words on encouragement to be proponents of wearing helmets?
Certainly, consistency. You know, there's usually a drive for helmets that becomes all popular, and there are a lot of news stories, particularly if someone famous gets injured, is don't stop. Again, very often I'll see families riding their bikes, the kids are wearing helmets and the parents are not. So it's really the parents' responsibility, very similar to the oxygen masks that come down on the airlines. They always say, put it on yourself first so you can help others. So it needs to start in the family. And that is really important. Now there's other kinds of brain injury. The big thing now is strokes among young females, sometimes 15 to 21. Why is that? And the reason that we've been able to try to indicate without a lot of proof is over the time of social networking social media becoming super popular, there's a lot of sedentary behavior, a lot of junk food, a lot of social pressure, and a lot of young women getting strokes because of how it's affecting their bodies. They're sitting around doing Instagram and getting peer pressure, and then they're eating a lot and sometimes developing drinking habits and getting strokes. Bad brain injury issue. So what parents can do is pay attention to their kids and pay attention to themselves first, because kids learn from their parents.
So Jeffrey, you're saying it's not necessarily from the device, it's from the use of the device and the social aspect of that?
Yeah.
Interesting.
We're just getting the data in, but it's really unusual for a 15-year-old girl to be rushed to ER with a stroke. I mean, that used to be someone over 65, and then the docs start taking tests. I go, my God, this is like old people brains and body, and then they trace the lifestyle, and they're really, it's a really concern to have young, mostly females, be getting what they call, we used to call old people diseases. And then you get diabetes, obesity, aneurysm, stroke. We haven't had the early onset of Parkinson's yet, but a lot of the stuff is lifestyle stuff that accumulates. But for it to accumulate this early is of great concern, especially when it's pretty much preventable due to lifestyle changes. Go out and play.
Just don't hit your head while you're playing, right?
Right. You know, there's always a risk in everything, but, you know, be reasonable about it. I stopped wearing my helmet in the shower just months ago. But
For you for stepping out, Jeffrey.
Yeah, if you're going to go ride your bike, if you're going to do something risky, even moderately risky, you know, paying attention is good. Or don't drive drunk is a good way to prevent an auto accident. And by the way, insurance companies do not call them accidents anymore. I don't think the police does. They call them collisions because usually they are preventable and therefore not an accident. So driving drunk is a huge cause of brain injury. Another question?
That was very interesting, Jeffrey. Thank you so much. I think we all have some things to think about with what you presented, and I think what you're doing at Making Headway is pretty darn awesome. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, a pleasure.
Great information. Thank you.
All right. Well, we're just about to end this meeting, but in the sake of tradition, we will dig into the raffle barrel jug and pull out a ticket with the name on it. Herb Colby. Oh, it's upside down. Can you see that?
Oh, I can see that. I'm so lucky.
You're so lucky. What's it going to be? What are you going to win?
He could win $85.
Oh, I like that, Ross. That's wonderful.
Now to find a ball. Oh. $5.
Well, that's not 85, but.
Oh. No, it's not. Yay!
Gee, thanks.
Oh.
Well, the jug taketh and the jug taketh away, Herb.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Story of my life. Pay.
Hey, well, it was awesome to have y'all this morning. Thank you for those who participated in the meeting, asked questions. Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you to the visiting Rotarians. Is there anything else for Rotary in general, our club in particular, or the good of the world?
I have one thing really quick. Sorry, Diana Rios. Today is the PPE giveaway at the Monday Club. So if you are a business owner or know a business owner that needs free face mask and hand sanitizer, please come to the Monday Club. I'll be here all day starting now, and we would really appreciate you using it in the community. If you don't need it, maybe your employees need it. The face masks are really nice because they come in bundles of 10, so you can stick them in your glove compartment so you always have them. and then the sanitizer. So please come and use your PPE, especially as the schools start to reopen. We're more than ever going to need to use our sanitary products. So please come by the Monday Club anytime today, or if you need to schedule an appointment with me, please feel free to do that.
Simon,
Yes, Mary.
this is Mary. I want to apologize to Keith. I had already turned the sheet over to August. So Keith, I'm sorry I missed it. Happy anniversary to you.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you, Mary. July 30th, that's the day. Thank you.
We're gonna have a stockpile of candy bars when we get back together again, huh? All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Have a marvelous Wednesday, and we'll see you next week, okay?
Bye, Simon.